Joe Cronin is going to be the GM here in Portland for the next at least handful of years, agreeing to a multi-year extension with the organization earlier today. And look, it's a polarizing topic because this is a franchise in the middle of a rebuild. And anytime you go through that, there's fans that aren't about that life and don't want to be about it. This is year 3 of a rebuild for the Blazers. Mm-hmm. And you are starting to see a lot of the rewards being reaped from the ancillary pieces, and we've talked about this at length. The Blazers have a bunch of role players that will be really good on a good team. Mm-hmm. They don't have that dude yet, though.
No.
And they need to get that guy. Some of the feedback that we're getting at 503-864-6326. This organization and their process when it comes to hiring and extending makes little to no sense. No real coaching search, no GM search, only as foolish as the wins this season.
I'll tell you right now, the air quotes coaching searches that happen in the NBA, they're not searches.
Yeah, they're already predetermined.
They're done.
Yeah.
They're like the reason you heard Chauncey's name come up in Phoenix was because the players found out that it was going to be Budenholzer and they wanted a more player-friendly coach. Mm-hmm. It was done. It was the same process with Monty Williams in Detroit. Ownership wanted Monty Williams, and even though they did a search, Monty told them no 3 different times, and the money just got so obscene. Was it, $15 million a year? That he was like, screw it, I have to.
If you have a true coaching search happen in the NBA especially, mm-hmm. it is because you're getting turned down.
Yeah.
I look at Jordi Fernandez in Brooklyn. Right? And even that was one where they had an idea.
Yeah.
He wasn't their number 1, but he was on their very short mm-hmm. list, and then they got told no, and then we're like, all right, Fernandez is our guy.
And Jordy's a hell of a coach.
He is.
Mark Dagnall, the coach of the Thunder, he was their G League coach.
Yep.
That glorious organization that everybody's like, oh my God, it wasn't a coaching search.
Yeah.
The coaching searches they happen,
yeah,
but they have a short list.
And when Joe Cronin was elevated from interim to the actual job, mm-hmm. it was not an appealing job league-wide. So he did a good job of untangling contractually the mess, and they trusted him with the rebuild. And look, again, we'll talk about this. You can argue the micro, the macro. He has done a good job holistically of getting this organization to a point where they should be able to make moves. They've drafted really damn mm-hmm. well. They've gone out in the trade for Yusuf Nurkic and getting DeAndre Ayton to Portland. They got Toumani Camara, too, and made him a part of that deal. Those are good moves. Denny Avdia trade. I hope everybody is now saying, yep, that actually makes sense. They gave up some, but they got a young player in return that's pretty damn good.
I went back on Friday because I'm doing my kind of season-long write-up on Denny, and I was looking at the tweets from that day. And boy, were there some bangers of some folks calling it the worst deal they'd ever seen, massive overpay, just horrendous stuff. And I'm just sitting there going, boy, a lot of you missed this one by a lot.
He is not a star, but they didn't give up star freight to get him in return.
No, they got a really good player for a good cost.
Yeah. All right. Rust, are you ready? Are you ready over there? Because we have a text. Can we get Russ taken here, please? Start yelling for the rest of us who think this organization is a disaster. I love that if they get flag, we can continue to live in a fantasy land. How do you feel about this, Jeff?
Well, look, things have not gone the way this season that we would have liked, and I feel like some of the decision-making in terms, especially late towards the end of the season, where the decisions that kind of kept us in purgatory mm-hmm. here. Now, granted, he has made some good moves. You had Donovan Clingan get drafted, and he drafted Scoot and Shea, and at the time, the Scoot was the guy. He was the last of the top 3 that fell to you, so that was, the right call there. And he's made some good moves, like you said, to get Denny Avdia. That one looks fantastic now, and I'm bringing in Toumani Camara. I think he's earned it a couple more years. Now, if this parlays into another position, I'm not sure that I have quite the same sentiment in terms of having. I still don't think that Chauncey Billups is the right guy.
Oh, okay. All right. That was far less yelling than he asked for. All right.
Look, the whole like pitching your organization on 14%. It sounds great from the outside. There's a reason why teams don't want to do it. It's freaking miserable. And the likelihood is you were the Detroit Pistons. Yeah, they got lucky they got Cade. But they had 4 years of falling out of the top 4.
Yeah. We've had this conversation, though, when you are in the position that the Blazers are in, though, the difference between 9, 10, and 6 and 7, it's not being the dregs of the NBA because the reality is, and you've said this all the time, there's no way that this organization would be able to out-tank
not what those teams did this
Utah,
year. Washington.
New Orleans, Washington.
They weren't a 15-win team, man. Like
they
even
were not.
If you shut the let's just say that you started the season, you took JGDA and said, you guys aren't playing this year. Collect your checks, be happy.
Yeah.
Even if you just did that, just to start the year, and you're like, we're going to let Donovan Clingan struggle, and Denny's going to play 35 a night, you would have ended with like 28 wins, which is still, I mean, it would put you maybe in the 6-7 range, which again is a tangible lift.
Yeah.
But when you're taking a look at everything, and look, I thought they'd be in the 5th. That's where I thought they would be.
Yeah.
They were just better. Just flat out better.
Yeah. But there was an opportunity to shut the valve off to give yourself a chance to jump up.
No. And we agree there.
Yeah.
At the trade deadline, that's the reason I asked the question.
I like Cronin. Been rooting for him since he got the job. I think the big question I have this year, not continuing the tank in a year where you have a generational talent, was that him blinking or ownership saying, no, we are done? If he blinked, I don't feel good about the extension. Got to stay the course. Tired of a mediocre team. Been following him since 90. Want a shot at a chip. I agree. I think a lot of people agree with that.
I don't think he blinked.
No. The big move's got to be done, though, and he's in control now. He's got to make sure that he's the one that can pull that thing off.
Yeah, it's, again, May 12th, and we'll probably do some show somewhere. It sucks, but that, like, it's such a massive decider for which path they end up going down.